other questions?
It is also part of design to complete your video, like the choices we make.
Well, you have free will to do that, but you have the free will not to do that. You have the free will to accept or to reject, and that decides whether you complete or not this time. Now you might make this decision in the other level that you're going to complete, but when you get here, your karma affects you. All the things you've done in the past, all your conditioning affects you. And if you stay asleep, you will keep being the slave to your karma. If you wake up, you will not be the slave to your karma, and therefore you will transcend it. And then you can be completed this time. But it's up to you. And in each moment, you know whether you're following the light or not. You absolutely know that. And you can pretend you don't. And you can go to therapists and gurus and this person and that person to ask your question, but you know your answer. The trouble is, you don't want your answer most of the time. So you go to a therapist or you go to a guru who will give you the answers that you would like. Very few people go to a therapist. Much fewer people go to a guru who will give you the answer that you need. Because when you get what you need, you will have to change your life. Radically, totally and completely. Because you're living in sleep. Your whole life has a basis of sleep, has a basis of unconsciousness. Most people, 85% people, if they wake up now, they cannot stay in the relationship they're in right now. Because it's finished and it's over and it's now destructive. Most people wouldn't be doing the job they're doing. They wouldn't be living where they're living. They'd have to change their whole life if they want to move towards the light unconditionally. So most people very carefully avoid going to the people who can really tell them what they need to hear. And if they do go, then they're very careful to mishear what they're told.
I have some things going on with sex, and the point is that most times I'm not interested in sex, and more I feel no drive for it, and more times I think I avoid something because
what you're doing, Siegfried, is what you always do. You're so self-centered that your energy is just revolving around. You're only interested in yourself, so your question is imbalanced. If you were to open and become more available for what's appropriate, ask your question and you'll give yourself your answer. You're so tied up in yourself. Everything relates to a compacted part that needs to open. As are there, they're floating around. You're trying to live in a vacuum. You don't live in a vacuum. There are 5 billion people on this planet.
Vacuum means in a box.
In isolation. Just the same thing I've told you over and over. Look out and connect. See. And not just the nature. See the people.
Yeah. What I like to ask is, there is for me something about the relationship. When do you know it's still something you need with this other person? Like the distress you choose for or is it something you don't need to go more because it's not something you need anymore?
Okay. It's a valid question on one level. On another level, you know that. You know when it's over. And what you do by asking me, and what Siegfried always does when he asks me, he wants me to solve his life for him. Nobody can solve your life for you. You have the answer. And part of finding that answer is maturing you, is developing you. And it doesn't matter whether you end the relationship too early or too late. It doesn't matter, but it's better to end it too early. If you are heterosexual, then there are 2.5 billion possibilities for you on this planet at the moment. If you're bisexual, you've got 5 million. And you've been conditioned this way, that the relationship is very important, and your whole system works that way, and it works even stronger with a woman than a man. And that is that you've got to make a nest to put your child in, and have a protector to take care of you while you're carrying the child, because you can't run away from dinosaurs when you're like that. And so you've got all this this conditioning on many levels that says, get a relationship and make it work. And that's what, even although my parents have reached such fantastic levels with their consciousness, my mother not so much, but still with my father, he's still stuck with by society. That because Kiara and I are not married, then we're living in sin. Well, you laugh, but you see, you've got that conditioning. That's why you keep holding on to relationships. That's why you make them such a big deal. They're not such a big deal. There are billions of people very beautiful people on this planet. And each one you're with gives you more variety to your life. And you can just keep moving. But this system keeps saying, stay here, wherever here is for you, whether it's Amsterdam or a place in Germany or England or here. Stay here, stay in the relationship, stay in this house, stay in this job. But that's all survival stuff. It's to do with the system. It's very unintelligent. It's just a machine. It's automatic. You can override that. And you can override that with your intelligence and say, I see that. I acknowledge that. And I'm going where I need to go, and I'm going to do what I need to do. And it doesn't matter if your relationship ends early. It's wonderful if somebody leaves you before you're ready for them to leave you. It gives you a chance to look at yourself, that part of you to which you are a slave. Because you will remain a slave forever until you are so conscious that you allow your system to go through what it needs to go through without being caught in it. As I'm talking, see if you can feel what I'm saying. I have very little energy left for anything actually, but when I walk in a room, I'm totally available to anybody. If there was somebody attracted, I would be there. If I wanted to be with them, I'd ask them, whoever they are, whatever's going on. I am free. And this is very beautiful with Kiara and I. It's perfect with Kiara and I. And I'm free, and I'm available. I'm not fixing anything. And I encourage her over and over. I keep saying, did you see anybody you're attracted to? Did you talk to them? Did you? Just to keep reminding her, don't get fixed. Because when you're fixed, you're dead. Every time you go to bed with somebody, go to bed with them because that's the person you want to go to bed with tonight. not because you did it last night, or they're going to be upset if you don't.
Paul, I want to share something with you again. This is something true, and I'm just going to put it out like it comes. Firstly, I can feel a lot of pain in a lot of places where there's a lot of hurt. And a lot of women I've been contacting see this in me too, and it's definitely there. And I accept that it's there, and that's okay. And there's something else too. And I can only put it, I'm resisting saying this because this is what's happening. But I'm awake. I've woken up, and I've realized that I've been awake since my first time in the world being. I didn't know it. And when I say this, I then find myself in a space where we're very soft and very powerful. And it was a long way away. And it was like he was saying, like looking down, and it's not down, but looking down. And I felt the words were so thin that I could so easily let go and not be here. Now, one here is holding very tight, so I'm not going off. And at another level, I know I came down here to share with people a lot that I have to share. But you spoke of going through a door, and I don't feel that at all. But I felt like I was in your hand, like an apple pip, and you squeezed it, something like that. And I'd like you to comment on what I just said, because...
Well, the comment is the same as it was before. Too serious. Seriousness is a contraction, and it is a restricted view. Now, I know most of the time I sound serious, but it's not contracted, it's loose. And you get tight when you're talking, and you concentrate on something. And it's to become realized and remain a dodo. And the game is to, which most of us have done, but there's still more to do, is have all the possible experiences that are available on this dimension before liberation. Because when liberation is there, then you're not very interested in anything and you don't do much. Unless you've anchored the fifth, then you just, that's it. It's over on this dimension. If you've decided to be a teacher, then you've kept something somewhere, and so there's a motivation to go on developing what's there. So you can become realized almost without realizing it. But then it's over. Unless you say, well, so that's that. What else? Not because you need to do anything anymore, but for the fun of it. If I want to teach, then what tools can I learn for teaching? How can I conceptualize things so that I can share it? Or how can I work in silence? Or you go on. When you become realized in this dimension, for most people, the work has just begun. Except it's no longer work, it becomes fun. But there are dimensions and dimensions and dimensions. And they're all available in this plane. That's what makes this plane so unique. Most planes are quite restricted, and this one is practically everything is possible. And one of yours is you get you lose your perspective, and then you become serious. And you're not serious, you've got this other side of you, but you just keep forgetting it. Something else?
I would like to ask something. In the story about children, you're only talking about mothers and children, but today fathers are taking care a lot about children. They are mothering also. What kind of influence does that have?
This is very unfortunate for the child when the father is the mother.
Unfortunate.
It's quite good for the father. But usually he doesn't realize it at the time. A man needs to be more female. He needs to be softer. He needs to be more sensitive. And it's possible when bringing up a child that can develop that part of the man. It very rarely does, but it's possible. But a father is not a natural mother. It's not in his system. He has to create it. And as I say, it can be quite good for the father to create it, but it's difficult on the child. He doesn't have that type of system. He's not supposed to have that type of system. A balance is needed, and that will help him, but it's difficult for the child. The man has been developed in the mind for thousands and thousands of years, and bringing up a child has nothing whatsoever to do with the mind. It has to do with the instincts, the intuition, these levels. And most women don't have that either. They don't have that because they're not complete in themselves. A child should be interfered with as little as possible. And that's very difficult because they're very noisy and very messy. They take a lot of time. And a child needs to find out for itself, because you have nothing to teach a child except your ignorance. You have been taught by people who don't know anything and think they do. And so you teach your child and you have nothing to teach it. The child is closer to God than you are. And so the less it's interfered with, the closer it stays to God. And it's not as simple as that. Complex subject.
Because I think in this moment there are a lot of fathers caring also about children, and these children have chosen for it, I think. Because you see it everywhere.
When you ask a question, see if you can anchor it for yourself. It doesn't matter about other people, and it doesn't matter about other children. It doesn't matter about the world. Until that has woken up, it doesn't know anything. And you can be interested, but the interest is just a waste of energy. Find out about that. If you want to know about children, what does it mean to you? Find a way to anchor it in yourself, and then an answer may help you to transform.
Yes, it's very simple. I have 2 children, and I'm taking care of them half of the week, and the other half the father takes care of them. And then you say that's bad for children. I'm feeling guilty.
Guilty is a way of being irresponsible. It's also another form of resentment. Things are the way they are. And children are fucked up anyway. They're fucked up whether the parents are together or whether they're apart. They're all fucked up. And then the mind works in theories. It would be better in theory if. But it's just a theory. It has nothing to do with practice. The children would probably be better if they weren't born to you at all. Be with what is the way it is, what's possible. To this, not to this. Anything else?
In theory, I think that I should, by the time now, fall in love with men, but I still fall in love with women.
And when I hear you talking about the chemistry and the nest and all that, when I look at my life, I find it very silly. I'm wondering about my energy, if I am on survival or what it is all about.
You have to find out for yourself. When you say your life is silly, everybody's life is very, very silly. If you were to be told that you're going to die next week, you'd suddenly sort out your life. It wouldn't be so silly. All the unessential things would be finished like that, and you'd be with the essential. Most people's lives are very, very silly. I've now realized that this is not my planet. I know where I came from. And so I walk around as a visitor to planet Earth. And I've been to sillier planets. But the people on those planets didn't have as much choice as you have on this planet. On this planet, you have the maximum choice. You can be the most gross or the most refined anywhere in this system. So you can torture people and rape people, and you can do the grossest, debasest things, or you can become a Buddha on this planet. But most people do very silly things most of the time. And now I've woken up, I see that. It's, well, I was going to say it's like children, but it somehow insults the children. The unconsciousness in which you live and the things you do are very silly. And you are choosing that moment to moment. You choose that. Now I'm not talking about with to men or women, because you do whatever you want to do. If you do it with a full consciousness, you're at your maximum potential. If you do it automatically, then you're being silly. What I've done is, and I know you've done some of this too, but what I've done is I've done everything there is to do on this planet. I've been with women, I've been with men, I've been with them, everything in every possible way, because I wanted to find out for myself. I wasn't interested in theories or anybody telling me. I wanted to know for myself. So now I know. And you don't know because you're still stuck in a track. You're stuck in a track because you don't want to come out of the track. Because when you come out of the track, you're finished. You see, this is only this because it's in a track. You only know who this is by its track. If you come out of its track, you don't know who you are. There was something we were talking about this morning. I don't know whether I can get back to it. Again, it's one of those things that you can't think about. You've just got to float around it. I haven't got it.
People want out of people.
Yes, I haven't connected with, I've got the subject. Well, it just comes. You all assume that you are living on the same planet together. That's a fairly common assumption, isn't it? And the fact is you're not. Each one of you is living on a different planet. You're all on a different planet now. And each of you is seeing a different this. And each one of you is seeing what you need to see. You are creating this now. You're creating it. So when I say something to you, you assume you know what I mean. But you don't know what I mean. You know what you think I mean on your planet. But I'm not on your planet. You're not on my planet. You're on your level of vibration that you are choosing at this moment. You're choosing your life. Your friends are your creation. When you let go, when you become choiceless, you'll live at your maximum potential. You'll live in bliss. When you become choiceless. It's what I'm looking at right now is when we were talking about it, you were receptive, you wanted to tune in. You blocked out 35%. Don't know what that means, but you blocked out 35%, but you were receptive the rest. And then here I can't say it. I can't say what we said together because too many people are trying to understand what I'm saying.
May I ask you something? When you talk to us and you tell us that we don't understand what you mean, what's the sense of you talking to us?
Let's just divert for a moment. That's part of why I can't say. I can't go to those levels when there's that disturbance, or when you're trying to get it, or when you get upset when you don't get it. I just say it over and over because one day you may wake up to your hell and see that you don't have to live in that hell. And what I suggest is if what I say upsets you to that level, then you could just skip this part of the group and come in when I've gone. Because there's no need to upset yourself.
No, it's not an answer. What you don't. The only thing I get a bit that is perhaps there's a possibility to do it. Once will understand what you say.
There is no way of understanding what I say. I don't understand what I say. What I'm saying cannot be said. How many of you feel like she does? How many of you are feeling frustrated because you don't get it?
You said something, and then afterwards you said that you didn't understand, and there was something in me, but at the moment was blocked, and I had something, what was it what he said? It was strange.
On one level, what I'm doing is giving you an opportunity with this frustration and not understanding. You see, everything I say, I could say the opposite. Exactly the opposite. It would mean the same thing. I can't tell you what I know. All I can do is talk around it. And if you are receptive enough, you may get it, or you may not. If you want this, then you get frustrated because nobody can give it to you. You have to get it. I can just spread this out. I can talk around it, but this something has never been said. It can't be said.
To me, it's like a sort of music, and I take this music, and I know you are on another planet as mine, but it's like a nice music, and I really like it.
Anything else on this particular subject?
I just feel so touched today, and I just love you so much.
I could go on all day. It's you that turns me off. When you get restless, you go on overload. There's no blame to this. There's no judgment to this. Your system goes on overload because you're being bombarded with a very powerful energy. Just being in the presence of this. I go on overload. I get completely exhausted being with this. I told you, I now can't go unconscious. I can't turn it off. The only thing I can do is sleep. And I have now stopped, I did this some years ago, stopped being aware of my sleep. I used to be totally aware all the way through the night. And I was just totally exhausted. I'd wake up tired than when I went to sleep. So I now don't do that. I try to go to sleep at night. I try to be unconscious on this level. And when I talk to you like this, I'm stretching you. I know I'm stretching you. And you're trying to be comfortable with it. If you're comfortable with it, either it slipped in and you got it, or you're missing it completely. If you're feeling disturbed or uncomfortable, it means it's knocking on your door. It's stretching you a little bit. It's giving you something to look at.
Paul, for me, I've been listening to a lot of your tape on sex and relationship, and every time it's a bit like receiving a cold shower. It's exciting, and today my mind was trying to find questions to ask you, and I can do that, but I realized it was for attention or whatever. But what I keep on getting all the time, how unsafe, how exciting, how unsafe, how exciting. That's what I'm getting.
The unsafe is what makes the excitement, and it was also what gives you your opportunities. If it's safe, it's finished. Not anymore.
Paul, I'd like to find a way of relating to you for these 6 days, and I'm just trying to do that now. I don't have a question. I just want to say this. A couple of people have remarked on physical similarity I have to you. I feel weak saying that, but people have said that to me. I've seen you out there in the patio yesterday, and I felt myself wanting to approach you, not knowing what I wanted to ask for or say, or I didn't have anything that I was conscious of, but I was avoiding. I was walking away from you, and I just want to say that today.
Well, I'll give you something else to play with. Again, this saying comes, which is very similar to Buddha's, which says, out of the whole came the whole, and the whole remained. We're all one, and then the one split up into an infinite number of parts, and on the way back to becoming one, they've become brotherhoods. And so there are brotherhoods which are one and are many. And these brotherhoods manifest in different planes. And so there are many of us who belong to each other. We're one, more closely on one level and others, and those people are very familiar. You just feel as though you've seen them before, or you know them, and you're surprised when you find you've never met before. And there are conscious brotherhoods and unconscious brotherhoods. People that know and people that don't know. And so there's a familiarity. Where you get into difficulty coming to me is you are self-conscious. And so you're circulating your own energy back through yourself, and it becomes a closed circuit. And that's a very uncomfortable state to be in, because we're not a closed circuit. We are part of everything, and everything is part of us. If you open to that, then you take the focus off yourself, and the other be important than yourself. I'm just talking about one level. And so in one way the other is yourself, because you're looking there so intently you've forgotten who's looking, and then the self-consciousness disappears. There is a very similar vibration between us. There is a harmony between us, a sympathetic harmony. And well, what comes is, I know you and you don't know me yet. But you sense that, somewhere you know that. And then it's like I was just saying, that if something's a bit frightening or a bit disturbing, there's a source of possibility. Never run away from those situations. And don't risk your body unnecessarily, because bodies are very precious at this time. They're quite hard to get with all these contraceptives around. And this is a very potent time to be on planet Earth. So don't risk the body, but take every other possible risk.
Does this follow?
You need to find your own answers. Anything else before we finish?
What happens to me sitting with you is often questions come, and at the same minute the answer is somewhere there. And most of the time there's nothing there. I just love being here and being in this energy. And my system often feels a bit like a balloon, getting too much air. Yeah, I just love you.
If you resonate with me as you do, then you go to that place within yourself, and then you have all your answers. And now you know that's there, and you have that choice, and it's easier with somebody who's reached that place and lives there permanently. But that place is in you. And if you make it your priority to look for that place, to live in that place, you'll always have your questions answered.
It is my priority.
But I want to ask, when I'm sitting with you, I'm very, very sensitized, and when you were asking him, this was like a string hurting my system, and you were sitting there very quiet and answering very quiet. Were you not affected from this?
It's as though the system got stabbed. The body shakes, and I get a slight headache, my vision goes, taste comes in my mouth. It affects the system, because when somebody throws anger, they don't know what they're doing, but they're actually sending poison. And normally you live very very shielded. You've learned to shield yourself, so you're so little affected. When you open your system, when anything happens like that, it has a very powerful effect, but it doesn't last. It just runs right out. And it doesn't affect me, it just affects the system. And that's one of the reasons now why this, and this is probably the end of this type of event for me. The 3 week that we're going to do in Greece will be very different in that everybody will be screened, and everybody will need to send a photograph and a little resume of their to get a feeling of everybody that comes, because when there are more frustrated energies around, it affects everything, and more refined the energies, then the easier it is to go higher. And as I say, I'm not working, I'm not teaching anymore, but I'll go on sharing, but it needs to be with a finer energy, because many of you in here need very little, very little. You're on the edge of something, and just by being around an energy like this, you just get a bit more and you get a bit more, and then you'll have it for yourself. And you don't know what's happening to you. I mean, a lot of you are finding out. The people that were in the 6 months and the 6 weeks, they didn't know what had happened until they went back and just saw the contrast of what's happened for them. The other thing I was talking about the other day was, if we need to have this crisis on the planet, and it's still a possibility, it's still a big possibility. If we have this crisis, each one of you in here, every single person in here, will become a beacon of help for the planet. You don't know that yet. But when a changeover of consciousness comes, you'll absorb it. You will find that as people panic around you because reality is changing, you will suddenly find you're much stronger than you ever imagined. And you'll be able to say to people around you, there's no need to panic about that. Come and sit with me. I'll talk to you and I'll help you to feel levels of reality. You don't know that yet, but as that comes, you'll see that just being around this energy, this investment you're making with your time and your energy, is preparing you for yourself and for other people. Because when these levels of reality start to shift through each other, there will be panic, absolute panic. Everybody will think they're going crazy. And everybody that's walking around looking quite happy with themselves will be a magnet for people. They'll want to say, they'll come to them, how are you handling this? And just your being will be that handling. You'll help them. And so experiment with these things. Put yourself into places. Try yourself. Test yourself. For yourself, and eventually it's going to be for other people. So if one day you do wake up in somebody else's body, enjoy it. If one day you suddenly start to see reality shifting and you see another dimension or another time, just enjoy it. Linda brought me a cartoon from somewhere. It was a full-page colour cartoon, and there was a man who just got out of his bed, and he was looking at his wife, and he'd opened the door and he said, I'll go and see what that noise is. And through the door you can see the world way, way out in space. The house is way out in space.
Whenever you talk about this, that we're going to be teachers or we're going to be something in me, I've noticed that before, that something in me is very touched with that kind of longing to.
You're already a beacon. Just as you walk around the streets, already. The level of love that's happened in you, the level of awareness that's happened in you, it's affecting everybody and everything. And there's nothing to do, just be. Be yourself authentically, be truthful, share your truth, and you're already that beacon. First of all, you don't realize just what you did coming to planet Earth. That you were perfectly aware, at your state of evolution, you didn't have to come here. You chose to come here. Tremendous decision. You came here. The next thing is, you are investing in yourself over and over by coming to these groups, by how you live life and how you're looking. You're making a tremendous investment in yourself. You're already doing the work. And when you're needed, you'll be there.